Alright, we are back. More War Alliance ranked videos. I hope you guys enjoy them. This is the Season 39 preseason rank video, and then I will also cover, after we go through the top 20 here, some changes that were made to the algorithm at the suggestion of some viewers, and yeah, I'm really excited about how it looks now and what it'll be like going forward. But here you guys can see these are the preseason ranks before all the wars that have already happened this season, 1 through 10 here. On the right you have their Masters rank from last season, their record from last season, and then the change from the final rank update of last season to preseason. Paulo sneaking in there at 8 because they didn't report all of their wars last season. They were not part of the sheet after like War 3 or 4. Same thing with PBT and Old, that's Old Driver. And then Chaos, they started last season as Space. They squeaked into Master, and I think that they should be a pretty good alliance going forward. So they do start this season in the top 20 for the preseason. Alright, and then the rest of this video is all going to be explaining away some stuff. If you don't like monologuing or spreadsheets, click away. Alright, so we have also updated the algorithm here, and there are two major changes. I'll go through all of the changes just to, be as transparent as possible. Some of this stuff is going to be very boring, and I don't know a better format and a quicker format than to just simply go through it as we look at the actual spreadsheet. So, first of all, last season, the actual war rating leaderboard rank in-game did contribute points to the total war score that this algorithm produced. And we removed that because war rating, it does have some value in suggesting which alliances have had long-term success, but season to season, it is very, very low on the relevant scale in terms of an indicator of an alliance's overall competitiveness. Okay. One other change: instead of simply tracking deaths as people have suggested, this season it will track lost attack bonuses. So last season, included in the deaths were things like disconnects, but not included in the deaths were things like missed paths. So one missed path with 2 defenders would be 6 lost bonuses. And of course, in-game scoring for the season points, you would also lose exploration points. But we will track lost attack bonuses. So it is up to an alliance to finish or complete all of the defenders that are on the map, and if they don't do that, then they do need to get penalized in this spreadsheet. We're going to skip this for a second. Death differential is same as it was last season. Wins and losses, of course, just aka wins, you get points for wins, you don't get anything for losses. Alright, and then the two big changes are, number one, I have added a brand new category that was actually suggested by an officer in New Nation, and I loved the suggestion, and that is essentially a defense rating. Now you might wonder, how could you possibly award points for defense? Because defense is so complex, and war to war, somebody's defense could be great, but the opponent, like GT40, could just clear through it because they're so good. But here's how we're going to track this, and this is what was suggested. We will take each opponent's expected deaths would go in this category for an alliance. All right, so using War 1 as an example, GT40 did match TCN in War 1. GT40 won 4-5, and based on last season's per war averages, GT40's expected kills against TCN were 4.17. So anything below that, and GT40 would not get a positive defense rating, and anything above that, they would get a positive defense rating. And this is a very simple little equation here. The percentage above opponent average, the defense rating, is simply the percentage above this number. So GT40 got 5 kills on an expected mark of 4.1, so they exceeded that expectation, meaning that, obviously there are other variables like it's a new global and all that stuff, but for the purposes of this spreadsheet, they were expected to get 4.1 kills because that is what TCN's average was in all 12 wars last war, and GT40 exceeded that, suggesting that their defense is, was stronger or exceeded expectations, and they should get points for that. And meanwhile, despite TCN losing, and they're not going to get points, they're going to get less points for for dying one more time. They get 0 points for having a negative death differential. They get 0 points for taking a loss. However, they are going to get more points in this case than GT40 because they got 4 kills off of GT40, and last season GT40 averaged just over 2 kills or 2 deaths per war. So they are getting, a larger boost here. Okay, and then the other thing that the biggest point of contention last season was how strength of schedule was calculated. And strength of schedule is going to be calculated completely differently this season. So we're going to actually go to the individual war tabs. This is the master tab for all of season 39. This is the thing that auto updates when inputs are made in the individual war tabs. If we go over to War 1, I hid from the main tab all of the other alliances just to showcase this without muddying up this little section of the video. But for the War 1 tab, here we have all of the alliances that finished in Platinum 1 and or are top 50 in in-game war rating before this season started, okay? And then the red is for docked alliances, and sorry, Locks, they were not docked last season, so just ignore that. Here, let's just change that so that nobody gets upset with me. All right, and here's how we're going to calculate this. So there are 2 factors here, okay? The first factor is opponent war, going into a war. Now, because it's the first war of the season, we don't have a war score for these alliances for this season, and the war score from last season, because this is going to be calculated differently this season, would not be an accurate indication. So what we did is we have a little scale here. These first 20 alliances here are the 20 Masters alliances from last season. All right, and based on where they finished in the in-game rank, all right, you guys can see this isn't really in order. This is based on the order of how this spreadsheet ranked these alliances, so some of them are a little bit different. But based on their finished rank in Season 38, they were given a starting war. Then we're just going to take this starting war score and plug it in here for the opponent war. So GT40 matched TCN. TCN's starting war score is 8.5, so that gets plugged in here. Okay, and then the other addition is a lot of people said that, matching GT40, New Nation, JA, DSVG, TCN, the alliances that are elite and do not die very much, there is a considerable gap between those 5 alliances and essentially every other alliance. Every season there are a couple alliances that poke their head in towards the top and exceed expectations, but for the most part, these are the alliances that if you match them, it's going to be considerably more difficult war, and you should get a bonus for that. So for matching a podium alliance from last season, GT40, New Nation, and JA finished 1, 2, 3, you get plus 4 points here. And then for matching DSVG or TCN, who actually finished 4th and 6th, XK9 finished 5th, but they don't factor in here. Sorry, XK9, no offense. You get a plus 2. All right, and then obviously if you don't match one of these 5 alliances in your war, then you're not going to get a bonus in this category. And then we go back to the master sheet, and all of that stuff it's just the sum of those is going to go into the cumulative SOS, and then that number is simply going to be divided by 10 to produce a much smaller number so that strength of schedule doesn't become 80% of an alliance's war score. Okay, so I don't know if that sounds confusing. I admit I am not and have never been very good at explaining this stuff, but it makes sense, and it is definitely improvement. And yeah, I think throughout the season, you guys are going to see that hopefully you feel like the war points that are awarded in the war ranks based on the spreadsheet are going to be maybe a little bit more accurate, especially the strength of schedule, which admittedly is a really difficult category to judge in a non-biased way, right? So you just have to come up with something creative algorithmically to figure out, to give it what you think is an accurate reflection of how hard, certain alliances' schedules have actually been. So anyway, that's it for this video. Leave a like and a comment. Let me know what you think about the new stuff. If you guys have questions, because I'm not very good at explaining this stuff, feel free to ask. I will do my best to answer them as succinctly as possible. And the next video, which will be out tomorrow, will be the scoreboards for Wars 1 through 3, and then the war rank update based on the first 3 wars. So I'm not going to do an update for each of the first 3 wars, but since we have completed 3 wars by this point, I will give you the update where every alliance stands after War 3, and then from then on, it's going to be every other day. We will have a war-by-war update just like last season. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much, and I will catch you in the next video.